Perfect. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's OC Transpo Community Information Night, co-hosted by OC Transpo and the offices of Councillor Gower, Councillor Hubley, and Councillor Curry. My name's Peter. I work for the Kanata North office, Ward 4 for Councillor Curry, and just wanted to introduce myself as well. I'll be kind of moderating along with my colleague Nick this evening. Before we begin, we'd just like to start with a land acknowledgement. Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for a millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the peoples and land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. The City of Ottawa honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Thank you. Tonight's meeting will proceed as follows. We'll begin with opening remarks from the aforementioned ward councillors. Then we will turn to a presentation from OC Transpo. And following this, the floor will be open to questions from the public. Like I say, we'll be moderating that, and we'll give some further instructions when it comes to question time. But with that, Chair of Transit, Councillor Gower, please go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks, Peter. And good evening, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for taking time to join us this evening. It's great to see so much interest and participation. I am the councillor for Stittsville, and as mentioned, I also chair the Transit Committee. So in that role, I hear from residents, not just in Stittsville, not just in Kanata, but all across the city about what they're experiencing with OC Transpo. I want to thank Councillor Curry and her office team for taking the lead on organizing and hosting tonight's event, and to Councillor Hubley and to the OC Transpo staff who are participating. Councillor Curry and Councillor Hubley and I have met a few times, well, quite a few times with OC Transpo staff throughout the fall, and we've been relaying the feedback that we've been hearing from residents about reliability of service, the speed of service, detours, the need for more frequency, and so on. And I use transit almost every day to get around locally or to get to City Hall. And I know there's a lot of work to do to improve the quality of service to get you to work or to school or to appointments or wherever you may be going. And so we thought it'd be important to have this meeting so that you as residents and OC Transpo riders can hear directly from OC Transpo about the current status of the system, but also some of the short-term and longer-term initiatives that are underway to improve transit to the West End. And of course, we want to hear from you as well in the Q&A. So we may not get to all the questions. There's a lot of people here. And if there's anything we don't cover, please feel free to reach out to any of your local councillors. And with that, I think I'm passing the mic to Councillor Hubley.
Thank you, Councillor Gower, and thank you everybody for joining us. And as Glenn mentioned, if anybody has any questions after this meeting that they want to contact their respective councillors, we'll work together to make sure that you get answers to your questions. And thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the organizers.
Councillor Curry, over to you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for attending. I'm really pleased to see how many people are here, and I'm sure there'll be many more who are listening to this, the recorded version. As Councillor Gower and Councillor Hubley indicated, we have heard a lot from the community, and I can tell you the community has been extremely helpful, and OC Transpo representatives here tonight will, I'm sure, indicate that we've, as councillors, sent in that feedback to OC Transpo. We've sent in PowerPoint presentations. We've sent in all kinds of mapping ideas and suggestions. And as Councillor Gower mentioned, Councillor Gower, Councillor Hubley, and I with OC Transpo staff have met many times to review what is going on and what can be done, what are the short, medium, and long-term goals. And it just, you know, the idea was pretty obvious that the community really needs to hear it as well, and so that we're all understanding what's going on and in the same goal that we all have to make sure that our transit system is the best it can possibly be. So really appreciate everyone being here tonight. Big thanks to Peter and Nick for helping us set this whole Zoom call up and organizing us. So without further ado, I will look forward to the presentation and the question and answer time.
Okay, Pat and Bart from OC Transpo, it is the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll share our presentation and we can get actually perhaps we should start by introducing ourselves. My name is Bart Cormier. I'm the director of strategic communications and external relations with OC Transpo with transit services at the city. I'm a member of our departmental leadership team, and I'm happy to be representing our department with my colleague Pat Scrimger here this evening. And I'm also a resident of Kanata South, so joining you from Old Glen Cairn. So over to you, Pat, and I'll share the presentation and then we can get started.
Thanks, Bart. My name's Pat Scrimger. I'm the Director of Customer Systems and Planning. So I support the teams who look after service planning, strategic sorts of things, technology, and customer service at OC Transpo. And like Bart, I work closely with all of our other colleague directors who look after different aspects of the service we provide. So we'll start just with a title slide here. Thank you for coming. Thank you to everybody for being here. And of course, for the comments that you've sent through the councillors' offices over the last few months. Bart, do you want to take us through a bit of an agenda?
Thanks, Pat. Yes, so we have a few topics that we'd like to cover this evening. So we wanted to start first by providing a bit of an overview of the transit services that OC Transpo currently provides to Ottawa's West End. We'd like to talk about the future O-Train network map and the work that we're doing to expand rail service to the east and more importantly to the west. We'll talk a little bit about the O-Train West Extension construction updates, so where things are currently and some of the things that we're anticipating coming in the year. We'll look at the West End bus detours and where things are at, because I know that's a topic of great interest. We'll talk about the current bus service levels and where we are trying to work to improve service reliability. We'll talk about improving bus availability. We'll talk about future planning and work that we're hoping to achieve overall to improve bus reliability and our level of service generally. And then we'll move to your questions and comments. And Pat and I will be here for the rest of the evening to take any questions and to hear your comments. So over to you, Pat.
Thanks. So this map shows all of the bus routes, really showing from about Lincoln Fields all the way to Stittsville. You know your bus routes. You can see them listed on the right. The ones numbered in the 60s are the direct buses that go from all day long or different parts of the day from Stittsville and Kanata over to connect with the rest of the network, mostly at Tunney's Pasture, with the new 68 going to Baseline. The 110 being the route that loops from Kanata North through Kanata South and down to Barrhaven. The 160s being the local routes, and the 250s and 260s being the what we call connection routes, the rush hour routes that go directly from your residential neighborhoods to Tunney's Pasture. And then finally, we list also the 2 weekly bus routes that pass through your area. The Monday only 301 from Richmond to Carlingwood, and the 303 on Wednesdays that comes from Dunrobin to Carlingwood, also serving places along the way through Stittsville. So you know your own route, and we can refer back to this map if we need to. Let's go to the next slide. And now we'll just have a quick look. As many of you know, this is what we are building. This is the O-Train network once stage 2 is completed. As you know, right now, the east-west O-Trains run from Tunney's Pasture to Blair, and the extension to Trim has been under test since last summer. We're getting closer to opening that extension. The north-south line in green is O-Train Line 2, which reopened about a year ago. It was January last year, from Bayview down to Riverside South, the blue line being the connection to the airport on Line 4. And then on your part of town, the gold line, Line 3, will be the future line that runs all the way from Trim, just like Line 1 does now to Tunney's Pasture, and then continuing out to Pinecrest, Bayshore, and Moody, where it'll make connections with the buses that you use. And the other branch, the red branch, is Line 1, going down to Algonquin Station, the renamed Baseline Station, where it'll make connections not only to Algonquin College, but also to people who are going to points in the central part of Nepean and down to Barrhaven.
So we wanted to speak here to a bit of the work that's been going on. I know many of you, myself included, have been affected by some of the closures that have been happening. So construction of the O Train West extension is proceeding, as Pat mentioned. Trains are now staged in the west to support testing and commissioning work. Many of you have probably seen them at just to the west of the Moody station as you're driving past on the 417. All of the long duration Highway 417 in Kitchie, Sibby, Meekigan Parkway closures were reopened in December. No new closures are planned until the spring construction season commences, so we get a bit of a respite. Bus detours are being removed this week. And Pat, is there anything you wanted to add more on that? Or I think we have another
coming
slide
up
when
on
we
the
talk
next
about
slide.
that.
Yep.
So in terms of construction impacts in the west that are planned for 2026, there's two categories. So there are some that affect bus service and auto traffic. There's a long duration closure of Highway 417 eastbound, the on-ramp from southbound Moody Drive. That would only affect Route 66. And off-peak and overnight traffic impacts are expected throughout 2026. Affecting auto traffic only, we are looking at a long duration closure of Highway 417 westbound on-ramp from northbound Moody Drive. This isn't expected to affect bus service, but would of course affect motorists. And in both of these cases, city staff are working with our construction partners, East-West Connectors, to bundle work and confirm deadlines as far in advance as possible. Our goal is always to minimize impacts to residents and to provide the maximum notice that we can. There are some instances where to help move the project forward, there's opportunities to make shorter term changes. We do our absolute best to keep the councillors' offices informed and the public informed. I know there were issues earlier on this year, late last year, with some unexpected closures. So we've sorted out processes, and we're now in far more regular contact with the councillors' offices in the West. We have regular meetings with them, and we'll continue to keep everyone informed so that the residents can remain informed about the work that's going on in their neighborhood.
And we wanted to speak a little bit about the bus detours that anyone traveling to or from the West End, Bayshore, Kanata, Stittsville has been experiencing. The map on the top right, the small map shows the detour right now where westbound buses are running along Carling and Pinecrest. That was to avoid some of the ramp closures and construction that was going on the transitway. We had previous, even more onerous detours on through the summer. Those are over now. The construction activities that required the Bayshore and Pinecrest ramp closures are done. That came off a few months ago. The construction activities on the highway between Woodruff and Pinecrest have now wrapped up, and the construction activities on the transitway between Lincoln Fields and Queensway stations are still going on, but they're not as severe. So we're now able to put the buses back onto their normal route, and that'll be coming up on Thursday this week. Our estimates are that in the mornings, that should save 1 to 2 minutes travel time, and in the afternoon, going home in the afternoon, should save everyone 5 minutes, about 5 minutes. And the other thing that will do is, because the buses will be getting to the end of the line a little faster, they'll be able to make their next trip more reliably. So for instance, a bus that's going west out to any of the destinations will be able to get back in maybe 5 minutes earlier to make its next trip. So it should help with reliability as well. We'll be watching that closely. And the map in the bottom right corner shows those buses going back to their regular route. They're still, in many cases, looping into Pinecrest Station to serve the local customers there, and still looping into Bayshore Station to serve both drop-off, pickup, and connections there at Bayshore.
So I think, as the city knows, and as we've shared with council and with members of the media, OC Transpo is facing challenges with an aging bus fleet that has resulted in a sharp increase of undelivered bus trips since the beginning of this year. Our weekly average bus service delivery is currently 95.1%, and approximately 2,330 out of 45,342 scheduled trips were not delivered last week. So this is as the result of several factors. Our bus fleet is quite old. We are in the process of replacing it, but those replacement buses are not yet here. They are coming. But in the meantime, older buses require more complex maintenance. It takes them out of service for longer periods of time. An international shortage of licensed mechanics is making it very challenging to fill vacancies. We have 140 mechanics at OC Transpo who work 24 hours a day in various shifts to help keep our fleet running. We would love to have more. We have more vacancies and we're engaged in a process to try to fill them. If anyone here knows a licensed mechanic who is looking for a job, we would be happy to talk to them. And there have been supply chain issues that have delayed the delivery of our new zero emission buses. So we have a number of them here. We are retrofitting our garages to be electrified to support that new fleet that's coming in. We expect to receive, I believe it is an additional 100 zero emission buses by April, and Pat, I think it's 270 by the end of the year.
I think so. And then all 350 that are ordered. So it's half of our bus fleet by the end of 2027.
That's right. So we can expect to see some significant increases throughout the course of 2026, but we know that we're not where we need to be right now. And of course, to make matters worse, O Train Line 1 is currently running with a reduced number of vehicles due to some issues that we're having with some spalling on our axles. And we've actually invited all of council to a technical briefing on this very subject tomorrow at 3 p.m. So we will look forward to explaining all of the ins and outs of that process. So, I think the long and the short of it is, we are disappointed with where our service is at. This is not where we want to be. I think our general manager, Troy Charter, has been very clear about that. We're not happy with the number of cancellations. We want to provide a higher level of service. The good news is we do have plans to restore more regular service levels. We have new buses coming in. We have an aggressive plan to prioritize maintenance in order to ensure that our buses are, getting out on the roads, that we'll be able to provide more buses for service. We're exploring all of the options that are available to us, and we're continuing to keep council updated. We're providing weekly memos to track how we're doing on this challenge. We have a transit committee meeting on February the 12th, where we'll be providing even more information. All of my colleagues and I will be there to respond to questions and to provide some details in terms of the work that we have been doing and that we will continue doing to try to restore normal levels of bus and rail service. But that it is a bit of the elephant in the room that, despite the schedules that we've printed, we know that we're not necessarily adhering to them as regularly as we should be. And, for that, we make no excuses, but we are working hard to try to restore a level of service that we can be a bit more proud of and that our residents can expect. So just a few more details here. We are working hard to improve our bus availability. The fleet availability will gradually improve through 2026 as more zero emission buses enter into our fleet. We do have a robust recruitment campaign underway to help address mechanic shortages and help improve repair times. We're engaging with external vendors, both inside and outside of Ottawa, to complete repairs and inspections wherever possible. We want to make sure that we're obtaining good quality service, and so we're careful before we send buses outside of our garages to be maintained and repaired. But where we can find a reliable partner who we can work with, we're happy to work with them. And of course, through the latest budget, through budget 2026, council has invested $433 million to support short and long-term measures that will help improve service reliability for our customers. And that is in addition to money that has already been committed to buy new buses for the fleet and to build Stage 2 light rail, which will provide a more reliable link to the east and the west ends of the city. So our long-term goal is to use rail as our reliable, high-speed conduit through the city. And trains are great in that they don't have to deal with traffic, and they're generally less affected by weather. And so the reliability of the system increases when we can use buses for shorter trips and be able to use rail as our backbone of the system. So that's kind of the longer term plan.
So I just wanted to say a few words about the work we're doing, getting ready for the future. The big change in the future is when Line 3, the Gold Line, opens out to Moody, which we're expecting to be sometime during 2027. The work is going on. I hope we'll soon see some test trains moving. I walk by one of the stations further in every day, and it's moving along. The lights are on. More of the interior work's being done. We, at that point, once it's open, we have the opportunity to revise the bus routes to feed into the train. And we'll be doing that work this year. And we are going to take note of any suggestions you make tonight, any you've already sent in, or any that come up. That'll all be very good for us as we look at what's the best way of knitting together the trains going to Moody with the buses running to local destinations in Kanata, Stittsville, and also feeding people to the train for the longer trip to downtown and across the city. So we'll continue to work closely with the councillors to explore short-term and long-term improvement options. As Bart said, we're working with our contractor to work towards achieving substantial completion. That's the step that allows us to move on to test running in the east. We're hoping that will be, relatively early this year. It hasn't happened yet, but we'll be providing information to council when we get to substantial completion, and then as we go through trial running, and then set a date for opening of the extension to the east, so the trains will run from Tunney's Pasture to Trim. But that could very well be affected by our current trouble with the axle bearings on the trains on line 1. So that's just a few notes about what we're be going ahead with next. And I think, Bart, the next slide is just to say we'll turn it back over to Peter to moderate the question and answer session, and we'll be happy to answer questions about any of these points.
It's true.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pat and Bart. Much appreciated. We'll now move into the question and answer portion of the meeting. Just a few, or maybe a couple more than a few, kind of housekeeping rules to go through, and to kind of let you know how we'll go through. So individuals wishing to ask a question can do so by using the raise hand function under the reactions, which I see that some of you guys already know how to use, are already on that one. So yeah, if you haven't used that before, just click on reactions and then click raise hand if you'd like to ask a question verbally, or by submitting questions in the Q&A. So what you'll do, if you can't see the Q&A kind of tab or kind of button down at the bottom, if you click on the 3 dots with more, you'll be able to click up, and then kind of under breakout rooms, you may see there, you can click Q&A. In the Q&A, you can then ask your question. If you want to type it out, no problem there. Go ahead and do that. And one of my colleagues will be kind of gathering those, and then we'll kind of alternate periodically back between written questions and oral questions. Those raising their hands will be queued, and then when it's your turn, we'll call out your name, and then we will click to request you to unmute. As you may have figured out already, you can't just unmute yourselves with the way that it's set up with this. Participants can't just automatically unmute themselves, so we'll click ask to unmute. You'll have to click to kind of give that permission, and then you'll be able to ask your question. We also ask that we ensure that a question is being asked, that there is a question that is going to be asked, and that your questions are respectful and constructive. And of course, there'll be zero tolerance for any swearing, personal attacks, singling out any individuals, on the panel of people answering questions. And each participant will be given 2 minutes to ask your question, and each participant is only kind of permitted to ask one question and then get back in the queue. And once a question has been asked and answered, we'll move right along to the next participant to kind of get as many questions answered as we can before 8:30. And I think that's, oh yeah, the last thing I'll mention is just, I know I said the last thing about 3 different times, but we just ask that you provide your name and which ward you live in when you're, as soon as you're at the beginning when you're going to ask your question, whether that is verbally or whether that's writing. So yeah, your name and the ward the ward you're coming to us from, and then for any media that if you would like to ask any questions as well, just please provide your name and your outlet. Yeah, we'll start from there. Nick, do you have? Were we able to get the timer up yet? I can't quite see. Perfect. Okay, just 1 second while we get the timer going here. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Okay, great. And yeah, what we'll do for some of the questions from the Q&A chat as well. We'll have Pat and Bart answer some of those kind of in bulk if we're getting some of the kind of the same ones over and over. So if we're not, if we're not calling out your name and, who's asked the question there, that's because they'll answer some of those kind of periodically. We'll move back and forth there for some of those ones that are arriving in bulk. But okay, do we have that timer set up there? Perfect on Nick's screen. There. Okay, so the 2-minute timer, once anyone starts, will be on Nick's kind of profile screen there, and that's good to go. Great. Perfect. So we'll start with Mr. Dong. I will ask to unmute there. I think it should be okay there.
Yep. Do you hear me?
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm from Canada South. I am a high school student at the A.Y. Jackson Secondary School, and personally, I'm very interested in transit. I just have a question with my school bus route currently, where I have reached out to OSTA as the student representative at my school. I'm the senior senator at my school. Especially regarding the current routing of road 656 and 657, where that it currently goes through Glencairn, which is a area that's served under OCSB as walking zone, and no student in that community has a busing pass. In turn, every student have to spend an extra 10 to 15 minutes going through Glencairn in the afternoon and in the morning, adding extra time to commute and extra time that bus is used up for school routes. I've reached out to OSTA and they have replied to me with this response, where OCSB forwarded back to OSTA that the designs are based off serving 95% of urban area while trying to minimize walking distance of 800 meters or 15-minute walk. But I just wanted to ask, does that make sense to apply to school routes where students are given a school bus pass only out of the 3.2-kilometer walk zone of the school, and in turn that the more approximate detours that the bus takes, no one should be getting off, or no one should be getting on, as they should be the walking students. In turn, I just want to see what's the logistic in that aspect of stuff, and thank you very much.
Thanks. So that's a good idea and a good suggestion. I can't give you an evaluation of where we are with your suggestion. I just don't know, and I can't promise that that's the eventual decision. But when we're planning the school trips, we work with the School Transportation Authority for the English Language School Boards. That's OSTA, and they provide us with the postal codes of the students and the home locations of the students who they've planned to put on the buses that we run, and we work out a path for that bus route that moves those people fairly directly, with a reasonable walk to get to the nearest bus stop. It's a decent idea to find a shorter way to get to the school. And I don't know whether we'll be able to do it, but if you've made a suggestion with specifics, if you've made the administration at your school aware of the suggestions, then you've told all the right people. You've told us at OC Transpo, you've spoken to OSTA, and you've talked to the administration of the school board. If we make a change that affects people, we might decide collectively that it's better to do that next year rather than midway through the school year. But it's a good idea, and thank you for making the suggestion.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Ashley, and it's just, I've lost you on my screen there. I can go over here. Okay, perfect. I will, there we go. I've clicked the ask to unmute for you, Ashley. There you go. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ashley Fortier. I live in Stittsville. I'm not sure my ward number, but I live in Stittsville, like Abbotsville Crossing. My question was about, I was a bit surprised looking at the gold route, the third route that's going to be coming into effect, because initially when this plan of the new transit system being introduced, there was supposed to be a station out here in Stittsville, you know, the way it was sold. In the sense, a lot of the new developments here were all built around the idea that there's supposed to be a transit hub by the Catholic high school that's at Abbott, and I can't think of the crossing street right now. I'm sorry, but it's the school with the big dome. Anyhow, I just feel that the transit plan has changed so much, and I'm just wondering, when did the change happen? I think that's my question, what it centers around, because I feel that when it happened was not communicated to the public, and that this, you know, it seems that, you know, we're supposed to be excited about the train going to Moody, but for those in Stittsville and in Kanata, like Moody is still quite far, like that's still in Nepean. And so I'm trying to understand, how is this meeting supposed to be good news for us, and when did this plan change? Because I feel like there was a lot of, you know, conversations behind closed doors that was not communicated to residents, while the prices for transit continue to increase when we're not getting any benefits and service.
I'll give a little bit of background, and Councillor Gower might want to say more specific to Stittsville. The project to build light rail all across the city has been rolled out and is continuing to roll out in phases. What we call stage one was the initial line from Blair to Tunney's Pasture that everyone's familiar with. What we're building right now is what council called stage two, which is extending to the east to Trim, extending to the west to Moody, extending to the southwest to Algonquin at Baseline, and extending to the south, going to Riverside South and to the airport. That was all approved. I'm going from memory here. That was approved by council in, would that be 2018 or so? So that's maybe 2017. That's been the plan for the last 8 years. That's what we're building now. We also have plans for further extensions, what we call stage three, extending from Algonquin south to Barrhaven, extending west from Moody through Kanata to Stittsville. At this point, there's no funding that's been allocated for that. The whole question of how transit is funded really has been altered fundamentally through COVID, and things that were on the books for earlier delivery sometimes don't have dates now. But the extension of the line that you're talking about remains on the approved plan. It was just re-endorsed by council last summer, and as they approved the transportation master plan that guides the development for the next 20 plus years. So the city is working with the province and also the federal government to identify a funding source that will allow those extensions to be built. So the corridors are there, the station locations are set, all the planning permissions have gone through. What we're waiting for now is funding and then construction. Councillor Gower, did you want to say anything more about that?
Well, you've covered it really well. I think Pat can add that the provincial government has committed that they want to fund stage 3 light rail that would come all the way to Hazeldean Road in Stittsville. And beyond light rail, there's also room in the Robert Grant Avenue corridor between Hazeldean Road and Fernbank to add dedicated bus lanes. So that's going to be in a future phase of upgrading that road. And Ashley, you mentioned the transit station. So there'd be a transit station to transfer from bus to train at Hazeldean Road across the street from the Chipotle, essentially, and then bus stations at Abbott and Robert Grant and at Robert Grant and Fernbank. And I'm going to try to add a link to a map in the chat with some more information. Thanks for the question.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next one. So next on the list, we have Barbara Reynolds. I will just, again, do they ask to... Yeah, I'll just do, it looks like it's not going to let me ask to unmute, so I'll just unmute you now, Barbara. And
Thank
you're
you.
good to go.
You can hear me? Thank
Can
you.
hear you.
I am in Allan Hubley's ward. I'm a long-time bus rider. I used to ride an express bus. I used to ride a commuter bus. I used to ride one bus and then the train. And now I ride 2 buses and a train. And I go to Eagleson Park and Ride, which is very, very overcrowded. And it's very difficult to get a bus seat. I understand there may be a shuttle service from Eagleson Park and Ride. So I want to know, what is the status of this shuttle bus service? Thank you.
Thanks for using the service, and thanks for explaining what it is how you use the service. We changed the bus routes quite considerably in April last year, following some strategic direction from council on how much service we should be providing. As you know, transit ridership went down dramatically during the pandemic, and it's taking quite some time to return to more normal levels. We're still not back to the high ridership that we had just in the months before the pandemic started, and so we pruned the service quite a lot. And some people who previously had direct buses to Tunney's Pasture no longer do, and I understand you being in that circumstance.
I get my exercise.
We check regularly whether there's enough capacity to move the people from all locations, and including Eagleson Station, to Tunney's, and the scheduled service right now appears to be sufficient, but as Bart mentioned earlier, we're not able to deliver all the planned service right now because of the poor repair of our buses that would normally have been retired by this point. We're waiting for the new buses to come. And the result of that is that we can't run all the trips that we would run and should be running to move all the people. If we get to the point that we have more buses available, we're looking at, is the best thing to do to put them back on the planned service, or is the best thing to do to put them at targeted locations where they can relieve some known overcrowding? We've got a trip or two that are coming up from the south end that we know are overcrowded. You're telling us here about some trip times, and maybe you in the chat or in a question you can, or to us by email, you can give us the specific times. So we're looking at that possibility, but there is no shuttle trip right now. It's a possibility for the future when we have more buses available. Thanks very much for your question.
Thank you. Let's say I will continue my walk.
Thank you, Barbara. Did any of the councillors looking to say anything on that at all?
Don't think.
Okay.
Don't think there's a need unless they want to talk about our discussions.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. We'll do one more verbal question.
I think Cathy Curry wanted to talk.
Oh.
I saw a raised hand by Cathy Curry. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Peter. You've got a lot of hands and faces to look at there. I did want to make a comment, Barbara. I don't know if when you were saying shuttle, you had heard about on-demand busing, because that is something we have talked about as a transit committee for sure. We did a pilot in Blackburn Hamlet, which was on-demand busing. It was something that we had in Kanata and Nepean back in the 1970s. It was called Teletranspo. You maybe recall, I don't know how long you've lived here, but it was a great service then when we were much smaller, you know. So we did a pilot in Blackburn Hamlet with OC Transpo did on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was beyond popular. People loved it. Basically, you call up the bus, and the bus comes and gets you just like it did with Teletranspo. So we were hoping, I know Kanata North South, Councillor Hubley and I, and Councillor Gower, that we would be the next pilots, that we could try it. And it depends on the availability of the smaller buses that they were using, like that were similar to the paratranspo buses. And that those again are coming in on order, but I don't know if Bart or Pat, you wanted to make a comment further on that. But I don't know, Barbara, if that's what you were referring to, but that is something that we would love to have.
Thanks, Councillor. And this also will answer a question that Cole asked over on the Q&A, and maybe others that I haven't scrolled down to yet. The on-demand buses, we've have 10 on order. They'll be arriving, I would imagine they'll be here late this summer or in the fall. We've also got, we're just in the final stages of selecting the software and logistics provider that'll run the system for us. We learned a lot from the test we did in Blackburn Hamlet, and use that to sharpen up the specs for the software, the planning, the support we're going to get from the company. And based on that, we'll be doing some analysis, making some recommendations to the Transit Commission later this year, possibly rolling out the service at the very end of 2026 or maybe at the beginning of 27. And you know, I think we've talked to Councillor Curry about this before, that it will work best in places that are lower density, with you know, longer walking distances, where there's places that are hard to get enough people to make the bus route consistent at the same time every half hour all week long. So it might be parts of Stittsville, Kanata, might be parts of Orleans, might be some other growing areas along the edge of the city. I've got lots of locations in mind that we're going to be doing the analysis on.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Pat and Councillor Curry there. Okay, perfect. So we'll do one more. I'll do one more verbal question, and then we'll go to some questions. I'll get Pat and Bart to answer a few of the kind of bulk questions in the chat. The next person we have up is Simon. So I'll click the ask to unmute for you, Simon, and you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, good evening. So I live in Stittsville and Blackstone. And so I have two questions, and maybe Glenn, good to see you. Maybe you can answer one of them or two of them. First question is, I walk along the Trans-Canada Trail almost daily, and every time I look at bus 163, it's empty. And I think two times I saw people on that bus. It's when school ends, and there are some high school students. So I know there are some routes that are really crowded, or there are some bus cancellation in the city, like the routes 88 and 6 and 7. And yet here in the West End, we have like empty buses running like every half an hour. So just want to take your opinion on that. And the second question I have is, there is a construction on Terry Fox Drive, just north of the highway 417. I'm wondering if that underpass, which I guess is being built, is that for the future LRT stage 3, or is it just, I guess, for the cars? Thank you so much.
Well, I could quickly answer about the 163. It is a new route that was added last April. And typically when you add a new route, it does take some time to build up the ridership. It is well used by students right now. As you saw, there's let's see, Sacred Heart High School, Paul Desmarais High School, Frederick Banting High School, and it's close to Katimavik, not Katimavik, Catholic High School on Katimavik Drive. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it in Kanata South, but it does take some time to build up ridership. That was added last year because we saw a gap in the service north-south through the community. There's a 61 on Hazeldean, but there were a lot of community centers, a lot of schools, libraries, recreation centers that weren't connected. So it's actually a route that I probably use the most often in Stittsville. That's not why we have it, but there is a benefit, and it goes through a lot of very higher density neighborhoods where we have high population and growing population. There are two new stops coming relatively soon, I believe in the spring, near Robert Grant and Abbott Street. It's a gap where we don't have stops now, and it's close to a lot of the new housing. So I think that's going to help to boost the ridership as well. On the Terry Fox construction, perhaps Councillor Curry or Pat or Bart might have more information on that.
Yeah, I can certainly comment on that. So you're referring to the tunnel, eh? That's going underneath Terry Fox. So that will serve buses. And the Terry Fox station that's in the middle of Kanata Centrum has, as you know, a lot of buses that come out of there. And so right now they wind their way all through the mall, and it's takes a lot of time and it's not very simple. With this tunnel now, they'll be able to come right out of the Terry Fox station and go through that tunnel, underneath Terry Fox, around, and get right on the highway to go up to Stittsville. And so, you know, it is going to be a huge benefit eventually. It also does a bunch of other things. Well, it'll join Didsbury eventually, and we'll have a totally different route getting people off of Terry Fox and Campo. But it will be for buses and for cars and for cyclists and for walkers. It'll have everything. It's multimodal. But yeah, the fact that the buses will be able to go under there will solve a bunch of problems for getting buses specifically up to Stittsville. The one other thing I was going to say, well, while I'm at it, you know, Councillor Gower and I and Councillor Hubley and I have had this conversation many times where people talk about they see buses with nobody on them. And so people from Kanata North say that to me as well. And one of the things I try to explain to people is that buses have to start somewhere. And with us being at the west, you know, you start a bus here and only has two people on it, goes through Kanata, but then it ends up at Bayshore and it's completely full by then, right? So depending on what route it is, sometimes it looks like nobody's on the bus, but it's because that bus has just made its way from Innovation Station or Terry Fox, and it's just starting its route. So I just thought I'd make that comment as well, because a lot of people ask me that too.
Perfect. Okay, now we'll go to some of kind of the bulk questions in the chat. Pat and or Bart, were there any that's the kind of bulk ones, repeated ones that stuck out to you that you wanted to take a stab at?
What I thought I'd start at the top of the list and answer maybe the first 5 or so fairly quickly. If everyone can see them, I won't read the longer ones. Can OC Transpo provide a breakdown of statistics for the west versus the east, or the rest of the city? I believe we are underserved. We have that. We have lots of information. We have ridership statistics. We have service characteristics. I would say that with the modifications to the route networks that we made in April last year, thinking off the top of my head, I think every district of the city would say that they are underserved compared to what they had before, and everyone wishes, every transit customer wishes there were more routes, more opportunity to travel. We do have the statistics. We're quite certain that we've planned the current network equitably for everybody. The next 2 are both about Moody Station. Will there be a kiss and ride style drop off and pickup area at the Moody Station? Yes, there is. Will there be a park and ride lot at Moody? No, there will not. If not, will there be shuttles from Moody Station to Eagleson Park and Ride? Yes, there'll be bus service. There might not be direct shuttles. There'll probably be buses that come from different parts of Kanata and Stittsville through Eagleson Station to go to Moody Station. But if there are busy times when there's 50 or 100 people who need to move from exclusively from Eagleson to Moody, we'll run those extra trips. The next question, could we explain why the East End has a direct shuttle, the E1, from Blair to downtown, when this section is already served by Line 1? Could we have the same level of service from Eagleson Park and Ride, especially since we don't have a train in the West End yet? The Shuttle Express, or the E1 service, was put in a couple of years ago following some operational problems with trains leaving Blair. It gives the people who choose to use it a direct ride from Blair to downtown. We suspect that service won't be needed anymore once the train extensions to the open. And I mentioned earlier, we're looking at where we can make improvements, and do we do shuttle buses from anywhere in the West End of the future. So that's certainly something we've been looking at. Maybe I'll do two more, Peter. I would like to suggest a change to a route. What should I do? Peter and Nick can give you the link, or you can go to the to octranspo.com. Down at the bottom, you'll see contact us. And then from there, you'll see a link to a feedback form. They might be able to put that link in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And after that, how are we addressing the underutilized and underserved park and rides? Only 262 serves the Carp Road park and ride, and walking the overpass from, well, we'll get to that part. But yeah, there are park and ride lots across the city which are not on the mainline bus routes. And as ridership returns closer to pre-pandemic levels, we look forward to being able to run more service to those areas. Carp Road, for example, in the west, Chapel Hill in the east, Riverview in the south, all not as busy as they were before the pandemic. I'm just closing these off. And then finally, we got two for the 252. I'd like to know if the 252 will return, as many people were using this bus, and Route 250 was serving many people in the area. Why was it stopped? As I mentioned earlier, we pruned the service quite a bit in April last year, and to match the resources that we have, there may come a time in the future when we're able to run more services from neighborhoods in Stittsville and Kanata. By the time the train opens, those will be simple routes going to Moody to connect to line 3, and hope that'll make an easy connection. So we're looking forward to that, but it'll really depend on what ridership levels are in the future, how people are traveling, where people are working, and what sort of resources, what sort of budget we recommend to council. I'm just going to answer one more out of this list because it's really easy. For line 3, do you need to change lines from downtown Ottawa, or do they run alongside each other? You do not. You will not need to change trains, with one exception I'll tell you about next. Through downtown, the trains will be, one will be a 1, the next one will be a 3, then a 1, then a 3, then a 1, then a 3. So if the trains are running every 4 minutes, you'd have a 1 every 8 minutes and a 3 every 8 minutes. If they're running at other times a day, if they're running every 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes between them. If they're running every 3 minutes at the busiest times, it might be 6 minutes between them. The one exception is really late at night, after the night classes let out. So after about 11 o'clock at night, Monday nights up till Thursday nights, just those 4 days of the week, there will be a shuttle train that runs from Lincoln Fields to Moody to connect. And so you'll come in on a line 1 train and just change platforms at Lincoln Fields. And that's because of some of the maintenance practices that we have through downtown to run a train only every 15 minutes to allow for some of the heavy work to happen at those times. So Peter, I'll turn that back to you, and then maybe we can hit a few more of these in a few more minutes.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate that. Okay, so we'll go back over to some verbal questions here. So finish off with Simon. We'll go to, I apologize, I'll probably mispronounce this, but Kalena. And I will just do the, I'll just unmute you now. Perfect. You should be good to go.
Hi, thank you very much. Yes, it's Kalina, but you did perfect. So I live in Councillor Hubley's ward, and I wanted to start by saying I think you guys did a professional and fantastic presentation. My school training, though, is to kind of read between a little bit. So I have a few questions based on that so, we talk about pruning of services, which is reductions. We talk about high-speed rail, but currently, as best as I know, Transport Safety Board has prohibited high speed at the moment for our rail because of some problems. So, and there's talk about uploading of service to the federal government or to the provincial government. If there was an influx of money, is there anything that could be done to not limp us along for the next, that I gather, 8 to 12 months of pretty miserable service? And it's not the staff who are here. It's not anything like that. It is what it is, and you've all acknowledged that, and for which I'm grateful. But is there something that we can do if it was uploaded to the provincial government or a special levy or whatever to take away some of this pruning and take away some of these? Can we go to other municipal governments to rent, to borrow, private industry, etc., to help fix this? Thank you.
I can try answering a few of those questions. Some of two of the primary difficulties that we're dealing with right now, the ones that Bart outlined earlier, need physical things to happen to make them better, and money. Spending money doesn't make it happen right away. Spending money can make it happen in the future. We're dealing with a bus fleet right now, which is it's beyond its normal retirement life. We back in 2010, we had a great deal and bought about 300 buses all at the same time because there was a great financial deal available. That means that all of those 300 buses all aged out at exactly the same time, 15 years later. We've, in a report last year, we made it pretty clear to council that we have to make sure that doesn't happen again, that buses are bought consistently and predictably, 50 a year or something like that, 50 or 60 every year, to keep a regular aging process and a regular replacement, and not chase a bulk replacement like we did then. And we're trying to get away from that now. We got a lot of new buses coming in, but we're not getting 300 all in one year, but we're still getting 100 and 100 and 100 to replace these. So that'll be a problem 15 years from now. One of the things we are doing, have done a little bit and are still looking at, is looking at other buses that might be available, either because they've reached the end of their life and are in better condition, or because there's been service changes in those areas where there might be a city where they've opened a rail line and they have some buses that are surplus to their needs that are a little younger than ours. We're looking at that possibility. We have 11 secondhand buses that we bought last year that are now in service. To the keen observer, you'll see little things that are different in them. But otherwise, you'll just go, it's just another bus. Except, why is that seat just a little bit different? So there's 11 of those right now, and we're continuously looking for others. I'll try and be brief. The other thing about the upload to the province is mostly about the concept there is that the province is covering the capital costs of building rapid transit in Toronto, Mississauga, and Hamilton to a much greater extent than they are in Ottawa and Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge. And so the mayor has been making the point that that's not equitable across the province. The taxes, the provincial taxes that are being paid in Ottawa are not coming back to Ottawa for transit. They're going to Mississauga, Hamilton, and Toronto. So the mayor is working hard to try to get some of those capital costs shared more fairly across the entire province. I hope that answers a few of your questions. I know that won't be all of them, but maybe there'll be a time for a longer discussion at another time.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to Aaron, and I will just go to unmute you now. Perfect. There you are. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm still a little bit concerned because a lot of these solutions are coming at the end of 2026 or not till 2027, even the end of 2027. And I know there is an issue, and as Kelena had said earlier, in regards to if we had some money, what could we do with that? Um, is there any thinking of really getting outside of the box with the process? I know Cathy was talking about um, the teletransit and how that was working in Blackburn Hamlet, and that'd be great to get happening here. But I mean, all I'm hearing from fellow neighbors here in Bridlewood, especially Bridlewood, Emerald Meadows, and Monaghan Landing, because I'm also the president of the Bridlewood Community Association. So sometimes I'll hear from folks if they don't feel they've gotten a response that they can understand from other sources, is just like people are giving up. And I know I keep on hearing about building, once we build back up the ridership, well, you have a new dad who has always taken the bus and was complaining about 4 hours, but now it's 6 hours of busing. So what does he do? He buys a car so he can spend time with his daughter. We have parents who are putting their kids into residence at Ottawa U and Carleton universities because they can't park there, or they don't want to buy another car, or it just takes too long and the kids aren't great getting to class. Um, there are people who are just really, really struggling. And, we already have WFA going on. We have huge anxiety. We have, I mean, I don't know how many perimenopausal women are on the bus every day who have been waiting and waiting for buses and need to pee like nobody's business, and yet are being told, well, plan better. Like it's not a really happy place to want to go and get on the bus. And it just seems to be getting worse. And I understand, I mean, I hear there's a lot of bus drivers who are struggling and they are stressed. And while we may be able to work from home,
Sorry, Aaron, that's time. If you just can wrap up with a question for them now.
all right, I guess really the main thing is, what are you going to do now to fix some of the problems now? Because right now you're not going to get ridership back to hit those future goals. And I think that another year of this, and it's been really a fact of that the last 10 years, if not longer, of poor leadership has been causing this problem. But right now, like, what can we do right now in the next year to basically make people feel that they have faith in the system?
I think those are. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I could answer a few, and then Chair Gower, if you want to say anything, I'll give you some time. There's 3,000 of us who work at OC Transpo who every day want to do only the same thing, which is to provide the best service that we can for our customers. That's what we all come to work to do every day. And for those of us who are driving the buses or operating the trains, they can only do what they can do. They are given the bus they have. For those of us who work in the office, we're confronted with a different set of challenges every day, and ours is, how can we provide the best service to customers today, tomorrow, the next day, knowing that we don't have all the buses in the fleet that we want to have, knowing that there's axles on our trains that need some very technical repairs before we can get them on the road. How can we allocate the resources that we have the best possible and get the clearest information out to customers, both on which trips are running and not running today, and what they can hope for the medium and longer term futures. That's today, that's tomorrow. For next month, we've got the repairs going on buses. We got the repairs going on trains. For the next 6 months, maybe we've got some secondhand buses coming in. Maybe we've got the train extension to the east opening that'll free up a few buses to be reallocated to other parts of the city. And then for next year, we've got new buses coming. We've got the train line opening. We've got the minibuses coming in for the on-demand service. For the 10 and 20 years in the future, we've got the policy direction that council set in the Transportation Master Plan, and Councillor Gower, Chair Gower, has been asking us some pretty pointed questions about how can we make the future even better than we're forecasting it to be. That's the work we do all the time. Chair Gower, did you want to say anything more?
Well, again, Pat, I think you've touched on the main initiatives, the main points that are going to improve the service in the next year and beyond. But I also want to acknowledge, like I've said a number of times in the media, that this is probably the worst time to be a transit rider coming from the West End, because the dedicated transit way that was there for many, many years is largely under construction, and the buses on detour and they're in mixed traffic. Um, the detours try to avoid that where possible, but it's not possible because we've taken away the dedicated bus lane. So as we get the new train line launched, as those detours are not in play anymore, as more buses arrive, the provincial uploads, so moving responsibility for the train to the province, will free up tens of millions of dollars a year that as a council, we want to reinvest back into the bus system so that we can expand service, have more frequency on the lines. That's not something that's going to happen in the next year, but it's in the horizon of probably 2 to 3 years before that starts to come into effect. So uh, we've been asking a lot for patience and apologizing a lot. In the near term, there's not a quick solution, but there is a lot that we planted those seeds, and we're going to start to see the growth and the improvements over the coming months and over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and beyond.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next, we will move to staff. I will ask to unmute now, and you can go ahead whenever you're ready there, Steph. Perfect.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks so much for holding the session. I think what I'm going to say is I'm going to echo Aaron a lot. I'm in Kanata South, and I'm a commuter to downtown. And the reliability issues and the frequency of buses together is just a perfect storm, a perfect disaster for a bad commute. Buses are overcrowded, they're uncomfortable, and it's extremely mentally draining to commute 3 to 4 hours a day. It's actually it's really a degrading experience. I'm a parent with two young kids, and I will say every day that I'm on the bus, it is heartbreaking. It is emotionally draining. It really makes it difficult to live and enjoy a community that I really love. I love Kanata. I'm really proud to be a community member here. But commuting 3 to 4 hours a day is just it's really, really taking its toll. So my question is again more about the short-term fix. And apologies if I signed in a bit late. I had some trouble logging on. But I'm not sure if the plan here is to return to the baseline where we were before these issues, or if there's going to be even more improvements, because things have been bad for quite a few years. I'm not sure again if OC Transpo has like a trip duration that's like a service standard that you're aiming for. So if that's, an hour from say Tunney's Pasture to Kanata is acceptable, or hopefully less. And again, my second part of my question is when Moody Station does open, what is the expected trip duration from say Moody to Tunney's Pasture?
Maybe I'll answer some of these questions in sort of backwards order. The travel time from Moody to downtown, I guess, more importantly than Tunney's Pasture. I don't know that number. I think we have some early numbers. I don't know. I don't have them at the top of my head. Bart, could you check whether we put anything on the O-Train expansion pages?
I will.
And but we can answer that question. If we can't answer it here tonight, we can answer it in time. The precise time we don't know until we get some trains out there and start the test running, how long it takes to get around some of the curves and through the junction into Lincoln Field Station. Okay. So we may know. I don't know. And then the medium term questions or the short term, what are we doing? All we can do until we get some more buses and some more mechanics is use the resources we have as prudently as possible. The thing we'll chase down fastest of anything is when we hear about overcrowding and people being left behind. And on the trains, we just need to get those trains back in operation and get back to regular service. So do we go back to where we were, or do we go beyond? We're going, on the bus shortages, on the train difficulties, we want to get back to where we were last week, last month, last year. With the train opening, it should be more reliable travel times with buses not caught in so much traffic. Shorter travel times because the train should move more readily, maybe even faster. Hard to be faster than the transit way, though. But when do we get back to any heyday we believe there was at OC Transpo? Maybe it was before 2015. Maybe it was before construction started in your zone. We don't know because how do we set the budget for OC Transpo? It's really going to be based on how many people need the service and how much can we recommend that council spend on providing the service. Sorry, I wouldn't have been able to answer all your questions, but maybe there's a few. Peter, we'll go back to you, maybe.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Okay, great. We'll do one more question, one more verbal question, and then we will go to the chat for a few. So we'll go to Freya is up next. I'll just unmute you here, and you're good to go. Oh, okay. I'll just give her a go again, Freya. Okay, I've unmuted you there.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now. Perfect.
Thank you so much. Usually I'm not a complainer, but I'm more a person who actually wanted to help the community. But honestly, I'm a very frustrated mother right now who has a daughter who goes to Ottawa U, and she came to me very, very frustrated. Like I have never seen her this frustrated in my life. She's a science student at Ottawa U who's struggling to meet her time to attend her classes. And I have never seen her this broken down. She came to me and she's like, "Mom, I can't do this anymore." And I'm like, "What happened?" And she's like, "You know what? No matter how early I wake up, and this is something we're working on it. It's not that I tried my best to see if I can find a better route. For 8:30 class, she and a couple of her friends from Stittsville tried different route, different way. Most of the time, they're not reaching there on time. If they don't reach on time, there's no space for them to sit in the class unless one reached before the other, save a seat or something. Last week, she missed every single of her class because something happened on the coming back from the bus. The buses are so full. And then one of the, I guess, good citizen decided to pee in the bus everywhere, where bus driver got all upset. He needs to somehow stop the bus twice. Again, it wasted so much of her time. She can't even get off the bus to take another one because only God knows when the next one is going to come. With the winter conditions, these students waiting 20, sometimes 30, 35 minutes on the bus station to get from the train, and then somehow the train is broken. We don't have enough buses for these students. Like, even if I drop her to the park and ride and to take the bus to make her life slightly easier instead of express, that didn't work out either. So the frustration of them of 6, 7, sometimes hours of just finding a time to travel. These are young students who just graduated from high school and trying to adjust.
So sorry to interrupt you.
At the university itself. I don't know what is the solution. Maybe there's a solution for these students, more clear plan.
If you can just wrap up with a question here.
I can answer some of those points, Peter. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that we can help to find a solution, and the solution may be different for everyone with a different travel time and a different home location they're traveling from. If you can give us your contact information, or even better, your daughter's contact information, we'd love to have, if she's willing, we'd love to have one of our customer care officers, speak with her, see if we can help her to find a solution, point her in the direction of some of the real-time information that we have so that you can check what time the bus is actually coming, if you're at a location where that can help. And if there's options of making a connection differently, we can help to find that. That's what I can suggest. We've got great people working on our customer service center, but we can also, in a case of where somebody needs it, we've certainly got people who can reach out to answer, to help find a solution. But the when's the bus coming? Sometimes that varies according to the weather and according to the mechanical conditions of the bus. But for many people, the real-time information that's available through the app can really help a lot. Peter, I think if that customer can get in touch with us or through one of the counselor's offices, we'd love to help look into that more.
Perfect.
Would you like me to try knocking off another 10 of these written questions?
Yeah, that sounds good. Freya, just if you want to send it to the contact us email or to any of the counselor's offices, we can direct it to OC Transpo there. Thank you. And thanks, Pat. Okay, you can go ahead there.
Thanks, Peter. I'm still going from the top of the list. I know there's 54 questions and we probably won't answer them all. Is OC Transpo aware of the inefficiencies of having all routes arrive at a stop at the same time instead of staggering, since they stop all at the same stops in the core? Yes, we are, and we try to space them out as much as possible, but we're also responding to peaks of demand from customers. When people say, for instance, we're all leaving work at 4 or 4:30, we all want our route 256, 67, 60, we all want it to leave from Tenny's pasture at, I'm picking a time, maybe at 20 after 4 in the afternoon. So we're trying to hit a balance between those two and also optimize the use of our resources by squeezing as much service out of the buses and operators as we can. Will the 60, this is Christine, will the 60 still continue along Carling Avenue to Bayshore, or will it continue to the 417 from Lincoln Fields? I think it'll be on the 417, but I know that what we told you about this evening was just for the 61, 62, 63. So I want to make a note to ask my team about that tomorrow. I suspect the 60 and 67 are also going to move onto the highway on Thursday, but I'll find that out and we'll find a way to get that information back to you, or maybe it'll be clarified in the information we put out on octranspo.com. Just clear that off. If bus availability is limited, why are we allowing buses on the same route to come 5 minutes apart, but then have to wait 45 minutes for the following bus? I noticed this specifically on Route 168. 168 is one of the routes in the city, one of about 3 or 4 routes which have schedules, end-to-end trip times, which are just not matching reality. We have to fix those. We are fixing those in an upcoming new schedule. But in the meantime, Route 168 and a couple other routes are getting Band-Aid repairs because they're falling many, many minutes behind. So on 168, when that's happening, that's because our service controllers are working hard, but haven't yet on that day been able to even those buses up. What is being done to shorten transit time from Kanata North to Carleton University? I'd say the biggest thing we're doing is extending the train to Moody, so that a trip from Kanata North to Moody Station, followed by a train ride to Bayview, and then a transfer to Line 2. The biggest thing we did in the last year was reopening. We were able, once the project was finished, being able to reopen Line 2 and giving that super fast connection from Bayview Station to Carleton Station. Can you share any information about improving the reliability of the 265 leaving Tunney's pasture in the afternoon? Thank you. Yeah, we've got some particular trips on all routes going west out of Tunney's that are having trouble every afternoon, and that's almost always related to the late arrival of the bus on the previous route. And which trips it is can vary from one schedule period to the next. So what we're trying to do is build in more buffer time into the schedules. The buses that you see laying over, waiting for their next trip in the middle of the station there at Tiny's Pasture, if we can give those particular trips an extra 5 or 10 minutes, then they can get in, even if the bus is coming in, say, 7 minutes late from the previous trip, it can still leave on time for the next trip. How do you justify a fare increase and an increase of approximately 8% to OC Transpo tax levy when service is abysmal? We shouldn't have to pay for incompetence. I can only say that the taxes cover about 2/3 of the cost of running the transit service. The fares cover a smaller amount, maybe about 1/3. And our costs go up. All people's costs are going up on everything, and the city must cover its costs from either taxes or from fares. There is no other source of money unless senior levels government get into funding transit operations, which hasn't happened yet. In the Bridlewood area, there are many late starting schools. Can Route 256 be run later? I'd love to hear the details of which schools we're talking about and which trips in the 256. So Tanya, if you can get that information into Councillor Hubley's office or into us at OC Transpo, we'd love to look into that question. Tanya, Kanata South, if there's a shortage of buses, could the high school routes be done by school buses, which would free up OC Transpo buses for regular routes? Has this been considered as a short-term solution? Thank you. Yes, we've been working on that with the school boards the last few weeks. We had a meeting with them, a very productive meeting with them on Friday. It's not it's an easy solution for us. It's not an easy solution for them necessarily, because their contractors who run the yellow school buses are dealing with some of the same shortages that we are. They've got the buses. What they're running short of is people interested in driving the buses. There's not enough people going to drive school buses, so they're constrained in what they can do. But we've got a good solution which we think will reduce the number of buses that we need sometime fairly soon, and that'll free up buses to provide other restore service first and then make service better in other parts of the city. What is being done or will be done to make travel to closer destinations faster, more efficient, i.e. travel from Stittsville to March Road, for example? Currently it is over an hour by OC, when by car it is 10 to 15 minutes. One of the problems that we've been dealing with forever is that in Kanata specifically, because of where the commercial areas where the school's been built, it is hard for us to run a trip that serves two purposes, that both takes people to Kanata Centrum or to a leisure destination and carries people to downtown. And so we have to run a separate bus for each. So that Route 163 that Councillor Gower was showing earlier is intended to be a connection from through Stittsville and up, across Abbott and up Castle Frank to get to Kanata Centrum. It can't, it can, as we've done with the 60 and the 67, they can go into the Centrum and then continue on. When the train gets to Moody, we'll have a little more opportunity to try to knit these routes together in such a way that they can serve both local and long distance destinations. And for March Road for the north, it's getting to Eagleson Station and transferring to the 110, and that's the easiest way to do it, but it doesn't work for everybody to every destination. Going down here to 261 is always an issue. The bus schedule for 8:03 in the morning was on average 20 minutes late each and every day. As I understand, the 62 turns into 261, but always appears to be late. What can be done to fix this issue? I think it says anonymous participant, but I think this is from Chair Gower, because he was asking the same question last week, and I've got a question ready to send to him, but I don't remember it right now. It's about changing, just a short-term change to the schedule so that we've got a separate bus going on to that trip that is consistently delayed. And and because that westbound 62 is just running late all the time. Peter, do you want me to do a few more, or do you want to go back to the?
I think what we'll do is I think we're gonna because we're just nearing our 8:30 end, so we'll go. What we'll do is we'll go with three more the three more of the questions with people with their hands raised. I do apologize, we're not going to make it to everyone with hands raised or with questions in the chat, but I'll kind of address that and what to do with those after we end. But we'll just go with the next three questions that were in the chat there. So first up there, let me just check here. First up there, it is Cole. So I will just unmute you, Cole, and you are good to go.
All right, you can hear me?
Can hear you.
So I guess one of my questions was about the staggering, and I know you touched upon how that you have to balance between like having the buses staggered, but also like people leaving their like workplaces at the same time. But can't like off peak. This is more something for like university students who have different schedules from the usual work routine. Could you look at the schedules of the 61 to 62 and on weekdays stagger them to be like one of the two comes like once every like 15, like 61 at like say 1 o'clock and then the 62 at 1:15 instead of having them both come within 2 minutes of each other, as I've noticed they follow each other around the same times throughout the route. And I figure off peak you wouldn't have to worry about a surge of people leaving at the same time because it's off peak for a reason.
So thanks, Cole. Really quickly, yes, we're happy to look at it. And if you can send us a note or through at the counselor's office or through the feedback form with the particular times you're thinking of, that'll help us get there sooner. But it's something that we're looking at all the time. In many cases on the 61, 62, we should be able to do that. But I don't know the answer to that, but I do know we were looking at the same on the routes to the southwest. We were looking at the 74 and 75, and I just couldn't do what we wanted to do without having to put more buses and more money into it, and just to set the times to get everything synchronized. So sometimes we've gone to service that we're not happiest with, but it would be more expensive and we'd have to take away service from somewhere else in the system to do it. I think this is also your question online that I'm looking at. You were about third or fourth in line, the 60, 67. As I said earlier, I think they're going back to the highway, but I'm going to check and we'll make sure we get the right information up before Thursday on octranspo.com. And if the 60, 67 aren't going back to the highway, I'll ask why. I hope that helps. Thanks,
Thank
Cole.
you.
And just a quick thank you, Cole. Cole's a university student, has come to all of our community meetings and has written in on behalf of many university students. Really appreciate you coming here again tonight, Cole, and definitely send in another email, as Pat has said, because you get the answer on behalf of so many others, as you can see by all the clapping. So thanks so much, Cole.
Awesome, thank you very much. So yeah, like I say, we'll wrap up with a couple of the raised hands, the next two in line, which will be Anne Marie and then, which will be Dakota and then Anne Marie. So Dakota, I'll just ask you to unmute there now. Perfect. You're good to go. Oh no, can't hear you. I'll just mute and I'll ask to unmute again there. Okay, give her a go now. No, can you hear anything? No. Okay, can't hear anything. We will come back. I'll come back after Anne Marie and see if yours works there, but if it works by that point. But okay, so we'll go next to Anne Marie, and I will just unmute you there, and you have 2 minutes. There you go.
Hi, thank you very much for hosting this meeting. It's really appreciated. I just want to say we keep hearing a low road ridership. However, at this point, I don't think low ridership is the main issue, as the situation, in my opinion, is there isn't enough buses, and several buses have been cut since April. And I have been writing to councillors in regards to the situation, as many persons in my community, which is Bells Corners, deep in Bells Corners, who relies on the 252, we have not been able to get onto buses because of the amount of persons that are at the bus stops these days. So my question is, once the buses are purchased, will several of the bus routes be returned to the communities? Many persons purchase homes and rentals based on the fact that there's a bus service available to them. And at this moment, I'm literally walking 35 minutes to get to the main road. And I feel for persons who are not able to walk, persons with disabilities, and persons who have doctor's appointment and are faced to walk to the main road to get a bus, which may or may not come. So my question is, would you be returning these buses once there's enough buses in the bus routes?
Thanks for your question. The first thing that we aim to do when we have more buses available every day, whether they're secondhand buses or as the new buses come in, is get back to the promised service levels that we've been publishing in September up till now. The question of whether any of the bus routes that were removed last April will come back is a question that I can't answer. I don't think any of us can answer today, because it will depend on policy and budgetary decisions that council will be making in future years. I can say that for people who previously used the 252 from Bell's Corners, there will be new connections from Bell's Corners to O Train Line 3. Some of those buses will connect at Moody Station. Some of those buses will connect at Bayshore Station. And we're planning to make Bell's Corners better connected to the rapid transit network than it has ever been before. But there may be some streets on which a transit service, if there's streets that transit service ran on before last April, it may be that they don't come back until some future year, undefined, with more funding provided. I can't be more positive than on that, I'm afraid.
But that bus route in particular, I cannot say it was low ridership. Oftentimes, you have to make sure you're at the bus stop at a certain time, because the bus is so full that you may not even get on in the community. So I can't speak for all the bus routes that's been cut, but I can speak for that particular bus route. And I cannot agree that that particular bus route had low ridership.
No, I'm not saying that it did, and I don't think we ever said that it did. However, we did have to restructure our bus route network to follow the guidance of council, and we'll be changing bus routes again, as I say, in connection with the train opening. And we hope that I hope that we can design a connection from your area to O Train Line 3 that will meet your travel needs better than ever before.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to try Dakota again. I'll do the ask to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Dakota, we can hear you.
You're up. There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
I went through my settings and I was trying to figure that out. So just,
awesome.
Hop on here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So thank you, first of all, for putting on this presentation. I'm a resident of Arnprior, previously of West Carleton, but I work downtown and I regularly ride into Eagleson Park and Ride and then commute from there. It's quite a large commute, but yeah, it is what it is. However, like Barbara Reynolds that was on earlier, I struggle every day traveling to and from Tunney's pasture to Eagleson. The other way is not so bad, but the biggest pain point remains to be canceled buses and inconsistent departures. Specifically, every day requires a judgment call whether or not the 60 or 67 will actually run, or whether the 61 will have enough space for me to stand on it, for the hour that it takes me to get out there. So my question was that in your presentation on page 6, I noticed that one of your major pain points was that OC Transpo wasn't able to provide reliable service because of a high demand for mechanics. It's not the whole point, but it is part of the point. I also noticed that OC Transpo was having trouble acquiring its zero emission buses. Are these two linked? Are we waiting for mechanics specific to the zero emission buses? And if not, I went to OC Transpo's website just a few minutes ago and found that one of the requirements of the mechanics program was a 3.5-year truck and coach technician apprenticeship program. If the requirement is not specific to the zero emission buses, has OC Transpo considered providing that 3.5-year truck and coach apprenticeship program to try and shore up additional resources? Thank you.
Yes, thanks for your question. And yes, we are. We have Bart will probably know the exact number of apprentices we have in the program right now. It's a fair number.
It is. I want to say, I'm not going to guess at a number. It
have a
is
number
more
in
than a
mind.
handful.
I had a number in mind, but I don't know the number. But what we need is people with a 310T certification, truck and coach. I don't know the details. I don't know what 310T means. I don't know what 310 other letters are, but that's the certification that's needed for people. If there's people who are working for other companies want to come work for the city, we'd love to talk to them. If there's people who are working in other parts of the country and are thinking of moving to Ottawa, we'd love to talk to them. And we're also we've got the apprenticeship program going on, and as people move through the apprenticeship program and get closer to their certification, they can take on more and more of the regulated responsibilities that they have. The other part of your question that I'll just say something about, I mentioned earlier that the configuration of where things are in Kanata really restricts how we can get people both or with the same bus route, both to leisure locations or shopping destinations or schools and to central areas. And that's just part of how the city's been laid out. Another allied problem is because of the way the Eagleson March interchange with the 417 has been laid out, every bus that's coming from the north, the west, or the south can go through Eagleson in the morning, but only the buses that are going to the south can go through Eagleson Station in the afternoon. Buses that are going to the north just peel off and go north on March Road. Buses that are going to the west to Stittsville sometimes stay on the highway and keep going out. That's why we have the 60 and the 67 going off, serving Eagleson Station, and then going along Katimavik. And that's a continuing issue that we have to deal with as we design bus routes in Kanata. It changes in the future if the train gets extended through to Stittsville, line 3 with that stage 3 that we were talking about, which is several $billion away, because then the problem changes around because the station goes in on the north side of the highway over near where the OPP station is now, and then it'll just be different, but at least all the buses will be going to that station to make connections there, or they'll be going to a station further west. So it's just a problem we've been dealing with forever. Peter, I'll turn. Bart, did you?
Sorry, there was one additional question. It's the only part of Dakota's question that I knew the answer for, so I want to make sure that I give it to him. There is no direct link between shortages of mechanics in our garages and the delays in receiving the zero emission buses. The delays are supply chain delays that are affecting the manufacturers that are being complicated by the fact that every major transit agency in Canada is exploring or has purchased zero emission buses, and there are a limited number of suppliers. So we are currently in the process of transforming our diesel mechanics into, I'm not sure what the electric mechanics, I guess, are specialists in the repair and maintenance of zero emission buses. But that's not holding us back. We're in great shape to take on more buses as they come in. We're just waiting for them.
Awesome, thank you both, and yeah. So just to wrap up now, just wanted to say a couple things. So, um, super sorry for those of you who asked questions in the chat that we weren't able to get to, or who were left with their hand up. Apologize. Tried to make it to as many as possible, but within the time window, we just weren't able to make it to everyone's. But with that being said, please do reach out to the OC Transpo, kind of the contact us page that was posted in the chat, or if you, or you know, or to your counselors at your respective counselor's office, and we'd obviously be more than happy to help you, either whether it's to direct you to OC Transpo, or whether that's to answer the question ourselves. Totally happy for you to do that. Any of the questions that you've asked that we weren't able to get to, or if there's any further questions that you have. And just a quick reminder that this has been recorded, and it will be available from your counselor's office within the next few days. We'll have the link out to everyone. And other than that, that's it from us. Thank you to OC Transpo and to all the counselors and their staff and everyone that took the time to come and answer questions. And thank you to everyone who asked their questions, shared their experiences, and took their time to be with us tonight. But other than that, I wish everyone a safe and warm evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Good night.